Hey, how's it going? It's Levi here. This is part 2 of our guitar refinish. In part 1, we removed the factory finish off of this old Hamer Californian Super Strat style guitar. And in this video, we're going to be covering all of the main spray painting aspects of the refinish. This is part 2 out of a 3-part series. In part 1, we worked tirelessly to remove all of the paint off of the guitar, and we were left with a bare wood guitar body that was ready to be prepped for refinishing. In this video, we're going to be covering grain fill, sanding sealer, color coats, and the clear coat spraying. Let's go. All right, for the grain fill process, I sanded the guitar body to 220, and then I got the grain fill product. Now, at first glance, the grain fill product is just this oily kind of material, but what you actually have to do is you gotta stir it because it has this very, very dense portion of it at the very bottom. So we gotta stir it to make it a slightly thicker consistency, and then we can start applying it to the guitar. I had basically just used a brush to apply it evenly to the top and the sides and the back of the guitar, and it essentially dries to a very hard surface, so you actually have to wipe the bulk of it off before it fully sets. I have some kind of that got in here, and it's actually very hard to remove it. So basically what the green fill does is it makes the surface of the guitar really, really smooth because it fills in any of the indentations that you may have had from the different grain. Now this body is basswood, so it doesn't have an open grain like mahogany, for example, but I wanted to do that grain fill because I wanted to get the nicest kind of smooth, even gloss finish that I could possibly get out of this project. I also chose to fill in the pickup ring holes because I'm going to direct mount my pickups when I actually get to building this guitar. After I was done filling the grain, I had to sand the surface of the guitar up to 800. So I had to do 3 different passes from 400 to 600 to 800 grit, and once I got done with that, it looked really nice and smooth. After that, I cleaned it with a little bit of mineral spirits, then I let that evaporate, and then I was ready to start spraying. So when we get into using the nitrocellulose products, there are a whole lot of things we have to be mindful of. Number 1 is the health hazards associated with nitrocellulose. So basically, you don't want to get this stuff on your skin, you don't want to get it in your mouth, you don't want to get it in your eyes. Any of that can be really, really bad for you. There's a whole lot of warnings on the can itself that outline what you want to avoid. For any spraying that I'm going to be doing today, I'm going to be using a long sleeve shirt, gloves, a half mask to cover my face, safety glasses to prevent stuff from going into my eyes, because we want to reduce any possible chance of getting that nitrocellulose on us, because ultimately it's bad for humans. The second big consideration to make when we're talking about using the nitrocellulose products is that they are extremely flammable. So I'm going to be spraying this outside, but basically if you're spraying nitrocellulose products, you want to be very mindful of where you're spraying it. You want to be using a well ventilated area, and you want to make sure that you're not leaving a potential fire hazard, because it is insane how flammable that nitrocellulose product is. Now that we've got all that safety stuff out of the way, let's start spraying. So the first round of nitro that we're going to be working with is called sanding sealer, and basically what it does is it seals the wood so we can have a good foundation for our color coats to sit on top of. So I donned all my safety equipment and headed outside and started spraying. This is what it looks like. Today I sprayed 3 coats on the guitar, allowing about 20 to 30 minutes in between coats for some dry time. After that, I'm gonna let it sit overnight, and then I'll start spraying colors tomorrow. After spraying the sanding sealer, the guitar looks like it has a somewhat glossy surface. The way it reflects light is a little bit different. So far, I'm stoked for how it's turning out. Alright, now for the stage that I have been most excited for, spraying the color. So for this project, we are going shell pink, which is like a classic Fender color. I've seen some cool Strats and Tellys and Jazz Masters and so on with this shell pink color. I think it looks really, really nice. And when I was initially selecting the color that I was gonna take this guitar, I saw this really cool LTD guitar, and I thought that looked really cool. So I wanted to kind of emulate something like that. And with all our nitrocellulose spray products, we wanna heat them a little bit beforehand. So I just use a bucket of warm water, and I let them sit in there for a few minutes before I started spraying, and overall that has led to a nice, really smooth spray pattern, and I haven't had any issues with flow due to heating it up a little bit. Now on the first pass of color, it was barely noticeable that we were spraying it pink. I could see the pink a little bit with my eyes, but I'm not sure if it showed up on the camera quite right. Your first coat never really has true full coverage. It's usually around the second or third coat where you can actually get a nice solid color out of it. Now on the second coat, it started to look like a translucent finish where we could see a little bit of pink, but we could also see a lot of the wood grain underneath. I thought this was kind of a unique look, but not exactly what we're going for. Every now and then a speck of dust or a little bit of hair would come and stick to the guitar, and I decided to just leave those and then wait until the finish had dried and then scrape those off later. I figured it would cause less damage if I wait till it's dry and solidified rather than trying to smudge it while it's wet to get one little hair out. And that strategy paid off pretty well because yes, I do have small blemishes here or there, but I don't have any smudges or anything from touching it with my fingers. On the third and final coat of this day, I basically just made sure I got a nice solid coverage all around the guitar, and I especially focused on the horns because I've found that it's a little bit harder to spray those horns, so I just made sure I got a little bit of extra paint in those areas. Now you can only spray about 3 coats a day of nitrocellulose because it basically needs time to gas off and solidify into the finish that stays on the guitar, right? So it's gonna take me multiple days to get through all of the painting. The next day I did 1 more coat of shell pink all around the guitar just to give it 4 total coats of shell pink. Then it's time to start spraying clear. Now luckily with this type of finish, I don't need to sand in between the coats. I just basically spray it, let it dry, spray it again, and just make sure that there's no major dust or imperfections in the finish. And I haven't really had many issues for imperfections. So far I haven't dealt with any dripping or runs on this because I've been able to spray very thin coats all the way around the guitar on each pass. And on the next day I sprayed 3 more coats of clear coat, same kind of process as before. And I've got to take this up to 10 coats of clear, so it's gonna take a few days of spraying and waiting. So after my 6 days of spraying, it was time to let the guitar finish cure. Now I chose to let it cure for 2 weeks, which is kind of considered the minimum amount of time you want to leave it to cure. Apparently it's better to leave it for 28 days or even 6 weeks, some people say. But to be honest, I don't know what the best length is to let that cure for. I just ran with 14 days and then I started going on to the final stages of the process. Now, I'm gonna end this video here, and in part 3, we're gonna go over the final sanding and polishing and reassembly of the entire guitar, and then I can finally show you the grand reveal of what it actually ended up looking like. So, part 3 will be available right here. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you over there.